Welcome to day number 1. We're going to be starting today relatively easy, but as this is a slightly more advanced course, I want you to expect to get a little bit of a sweat on. So as we go through this course, one of the things I want you to know is I'm going to show you just one single set of everything that we do. So I'm going to show you one, and then we're going to move on. If you want to use this for a little more fitness and you want to make it a little more difficult on yourself, what I'd encourage you to do is to hit pause after every exercise, do the exercise again before moving on to the next one. And then you have the ability to do that several times as well. So on each day, we're going to go through 5 exercises. We're always going to start seated, and we're going to end up going from seated to the floor to standing. And if you want, you can stop in between each of these, and you can add an extra set of the exercise, and you can also add weight as well. So just know that we're going to go through this relatively quick. It'll end up being around 20 minutes. But if it turns out you want to go longer and want to make it harder, you're welcome to hit pause and do more of the exercises. So the thing that we're going to start with today is hula hoops. And a lot of this is just meant to get our midsection woken up and to get our hips a little more limber as we go. So as per usual, one of the things that we're going to want to do is for most of our exercises, we're not going to want to lean too far back. As soon as we start to lean too far back is when balance becomes an issue. So we're going to want to make sure we're as upright as we can be, and if anything, even lean forward a little bit. And if at any time the exercise seems like it's going to be a balance issue for you, put a ball against the wall or shove it into a corner, and I'll demonstrate some of those later as well. So first thing, you're going to lean forward just a little bit. You're going to have hips, your knees pointed out a little bit, your toes pointed out a little bit as well. And all we're going to be doing is just drawing some circles with the ball on the floor by rolling around like this. So feel free, if you feel like you've got good enough balance and you're stable, to make these pretty big circles, and we're just going to do 10 per direction. So I want you to start by going counterclockwise, take a short break, and then we're going to go clockwise. Okay? So you're going to scoot your hips forward and then off to your left, and then out towards the back, off to your right, and then towards the front. Okay? You can go a little bit faster than that, and we're going to do 10. You should feel as you're going like certain parts of your back and your sides and your midsection are all starting to wake up a little bit. So if it turns out that you really like this movement and you feel like it gets you nice and warmed up, feel free to do it at the start before we start every day. Good. So I've done 10 in a counterclockwise fashion. So one of the things that you'll notice is as we do big circles here, the ball might move a little bit on you. So feel free to reset yourself often if you need to, just by leaning forward, lifting slightly, moving the ball wherever it is it needs to go. We're going to do 10 the other direction now. So we're going to go clockwise if you're looking straight down. Let's do 10 reps that way. The easiest position for most people in this is to have hands on top of their thighs or on top of their knees. And make sure as you're moving your hips back, you're not shifting your whole weight back, you're just really shooting your butt back and out. Good. So there's 10 in that direction. So the next movement that we're going to do is going to require some of our dumbbells. So I'd encourage you to start today with the lighter dumbbells, purely because we're going to be doing slightly longer sets. If it turns out that you feel like you've got more in you, you can hit pause and you can grab something heavier and do another set, or the next time you go through this course, or the next time we do this exercise, you can use something a little bit heavier. So what I've got with me is some 8-pound dumbbells, or some 3.6 kilogram dumbbells. I'd encourage most people to start with 5 pounds. If it turns out that you are good with 5, you can jump to 8 or you can jump to 10. Some people are going to use as high as 20 or 30 pounds on these, but I encourage you to start with 5 just to make sure that you can adapt to this exercise really well. So we're going to have the dumbbells hanging down at our side. They'll probably, for most people, rest right on the side of the ball. And all we're going to do is we're going to lead with our thumb as we come up, and then we're going to curl our pinky finger up towards our face so that our knuckles should be aiming forward and our palm will be facing back. And then we're going to undo and do the same thing on the other side. We're going to lead with our thumb, and then at the top we're going to curl our pinky finger towards our face and then do the exact same thing in reverse. So we're going to alternate, meaning we're going to do left side, right side, right side, and we're going to go all the way to 20, which will give us 10 repetitions per arm. So make sure you're in a nice stable position. If you feel like this is going to be a balance issue for you, again, make sure you put the ball up against a wall or have it in a situation where it's not going to roll around as well. Okay? So let's start with the right arm, and we'll do 20 repetitions total. I just want you to go slow enough that you feel like you're under control and you're not using very much momentum. And make sure you pause at the top for a split second. So depending on what parts of you are the strongest, you might fatigue in different places. Most people are going to fatigue in their arms. That's what this is designed for. But some people might get it in their neck a little bit. Some people might get it in the top of their shoulders. Some people might get it right in the middle of their shoulder joint itself. Either way, it's going to do a lot to help strengthen these areas. But just don't be surprised if your shoulders end up fatiguing a little bit on this as well. So I'm at about halfway here. We're going to keep going all the way to 20. And as you'll probably notice through this course and any other course of mine that you have taken or will take, the numbers are seldom perfect. Sometimes I say 10 and I do 12. Sometimes I say 15 and I do 10. And a lot of that's because there's no magic to the numbers. It's really just the movements and the exercise that we care about. I care more that you challenge yourself more than anything else. All right, we're going to do one more per side. Good. And that's it for the dumbbells for today. So our next exercise is going to be a ball-supported glute bridge. So what that means is we're going to have the ball underneath our low back and our upper back, our feet on the ground, and we're going to be lifting our hips up into the air. So it's going to end in a position where it's like you're laying on the ball, but your feet are still on the ground. So getting into this position is something that you want to just be a little careful the first time you do it, just in case balance it becomes an issue and it rolls off to the side. So the easiest way to do it is just like this. You're going to turn off to the side, making sure that you have enough room. And you're going to roll, you're going to walk your feet out. So I would make sure you have your hands off to the side or on the ball itself. And all you're going to do is slowly roll down as you lean back and walk your feet out to the point where we are here. So we call this a glute bridge purely because we form this kind of bridge position, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to have our hips drop down like this, and then we're going to go straight back up. So we're going to be moving primarily here. So our hips are going to flex and they're going to drop towards the ground, and we're going to go straight back up again. So if you want to make this more difficult, you walk a little further away, but it makes the ball more likely to scoot around on you. If you want to make it easier, put it right underneath your low back. So for most people, it's going to be kind of in the middle of their back. And the easiest thing to do is to put hands up beside your head to support it, or out to the side for balance purposes. I'm going to put my hands behind my head here, and we're just going to do 10 reps. So we lower our hips down to the ground, pause for a second, and then lift straight back up again. Okay? So once you get into position for that, give me 10 slow and controlled reps. If you feel at any point like you're going to lose balance, please make sure that you're rolling to the side or just roll yourself forward. It's the easiest way to get out of this position. Okay? So we're going to start now, 10 repetitions. And you can put your feet as wide or as narrow as you want. If you make them really narrow, it gets particularly difficult. If you make them really wide, a lot of the time mobility can become a little bit of an issue when it comes to your hips. So just choose whatever position is best for you as far as the width of your feet. And when you get to the very top, I really want you to squeeze those butt cheeks. Really clench them up there. It's one of the ways that we keep our hips really healthy. Good. We're just going to do one more rep. So getting out of this position, the easiest thing to do is to drop your hips down a little bit and slowly walk yourself backwards. Put your hands on the ball and scoot the ball back under your hips. If you find that's a difficult way to get off the ball, one of the other things that you can do when we're in this position again is you can lower yourself down and try to get into a squat, or you have the option of rolling off to the side, and we'll end up here. So getting on and off of the ball is one of the more difficult parts of this, of the transitions in this course. The exercises themselves, they'll be a certain kind of difficult for certain muscles. Getting on and off of the ball is something that takes practice. So just make sure that you're patient with yourself, you hit pause when you need to, and you practice getting on and off the ball. What I want to make sure is this is safe more than anything else. So our next exercise is going to be done flat on our backs on the floor. So there's no need to be a hero about this and try to get onto the floor directly from sitting on the ball. A lot of the time, the easiest thing to do is just to get off the ball and keep it nearby as a support point, or roll it away entirely, and you can get it once you're back on the floor. So for most people, this means that the ball is going to come kind of straight forward, out between their legs. We can usually take a step back and down, so we're in a lunge position. And then we can do something where we get our hand down on the ground and slide onto our hip. That's usually the easiest way to get into the right position here. So from here, we're going to end up flat on our back, and we're going to have the ball straight up above us. So in this position, what I want you to do is you're essentially going to hold onto the ball with your knees in your hands. If you have the hip mobility to be able to get the ball all the way between your knees, great, but it doesn't really matter as long as it's got support points here. So the test that I need you to do here to make sure that this is supported well is you should be able to remove one hand in the opposite knee, and you should still be able to have the whole thing supported, okay? So this is one of the more difficult exercises we've done so far. It's called a bird dog with the ball. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take one hand and we're going to touch it to the floor above our head, and we're going to take the opposite side leg and touch our heel down to the ground, okay? We're going to do 10 repetitions total. So it's going to be 5 on one side and then 5 on the other side. So it'll look like this. We touch here and back up again. We touch here and back up again. So this is going to end up being relatively difficult on the core, a little bit on the hips, a little bit on the shoulders. It's a lot more fatiguing than you'd think, considering you're just holding essentially a giant balloon in the air. So once you're ready, get the ball just laying flat on your back with your knees bent, ball right on top of your belly. And then all you're going to do is you're going to press it up into the air. You're going to put it on your knees as well. Move your hands up a little bit towards your face so you're pressing down towards your knees. And then we're going to, usually the easiest thing to do is to start with right hand and left leg. You're going to move them. So you want to take your left hand and your right knee and push them into each other to make sure the ball doesn't move. And we're going to do 5 repetitions. Okay? Start that now. So there's 1 and back, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let's take a short break. A lot of you are finding probably that the front or the inside of your hips are starting to burn. That's normal. Mine do too. We're going to do the exact same thing again after our short breath here. Push straight back up. Get our knees up into position again. We're going to have our hands a little more towards our face so that we're pushing down a little bit into our knees. And this time, we're going to take our left hand and our right leg off of the ball. Okay? So you want to make sure that you can remove your right leg and your left hand, and the ball's not going to go anywhere. Okay? And then we're going to do 5 repetitions, touching down our heel and our hand. Okay? Let's do that now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. And then you can lower the ball and your heels right back down to the ground and take a breath. That one's not a very easy one. So our last exercise for the day today is going to be standing up. So what I want you to do, for most people, easiest thing to do is to take the ball, put it off to one side. So I'm just going to put this off to one side here and wait. The easiest way to get off the ground, a lot of the time, is going to be to roll off to one side, to take the opposite side hand and press into the ground until you're all the way up onto one hip. And then you can take the hip that you're on and push it into this position. And most people, once we're here, we can get up a little easier. So the last exercise, once we're up, we're going to be standing and we're going to be holding the ball. So the ball just acts as a target during this movement, meaning what we're going to be doing is we're going to be holding the ball straight up in front of us, and we're just going to be touching it with our knees. Okay? So this is an exercise that's called a mountain climber. A mountain climber is very typically done on the floor, but it's a very difficult exercise when it's done on the floor, and it's usually used for conditioning. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the ball, and we're just going to use it as a target for our knees, and we're just going to do 10 repetitions total, so it's going to be 5 per side. So it'll end up looking something like this. We touch here, we touch here. Okay? So we're going to go right, left, all the way to 10. If you want to continue to 20, I'd encourage you to do that. Okay? So get the ball, hold it up in front of you, push it straight out. It's going to make your arms a little bit tired while we hold here. Make sure you give it a good squeeze so that it doesn't go anywhere when you hit it with your knee. And we're going to do 10 repetitions total. Okay? Start that now. Good. So there's 10. That one's a little bit easier. You can go all the way to 20 if you want. So that's it for today. I know you probably experienced a few new movements that you haven't seen before. You're going to have a few of those every single time that we go through a new day. Just know that it will get a little bit easier as we go because you'll start to adapt a little bit. Look forward to seeing you on day number 2.